All right, all right, all right, all right. Hey, excuse our delay. We had some technical difficulties. You know how that goes. You know how that works with technology. You know it happens that way sometimes. Nevertheless, you are live with the four elements, and tonight we have a banger of a show. But before we introduce the title, I want to make sure that we introduce all the elements to you. And by the way, we actually have one element who is missing, has something to do, some family issues, not really issues, that's had something to do with his son tonight. But hopefully he'll be on later on today or this evening, and we can get it popping with four of us. But until then, you got the three of us. So I'm Earth.
I'm Wind.
And I am water.
All right, so let's get this topic popping, fellas. This was going around all around cyberspace, social media. It's this whole conversation about alphas, betas, simps, the whole nine. So we're gonna dive into that tonight. Take a deeper look and maybe have sort of a different perspective. Because from what I can tell, I think that we actually use those terms out of term. Like those four. I mean, there's 4 or 5, male archetypes. And so tonight we're gonna take a look at each of them. We have a general idea what we think of alpha is. We have a general idea what we think of beta is, but we never talk about the omega. We never talk about the sigma. We never talk about the gamma. We don't talk about those things. We just always say, "Oh, you're alpha, you're beta." He's none of those. He's just a simp. So tonight we are going to take a look at those archetypes, take a really, really deep look at those tonight. And so, um, I did a little research before the show just to kind of refresh my memory. And before I go into detail, I want to hear from the elements. Like, what are you in your mind, based upon what you know, what you think, even what you think you know? I want to hear from you guys. What, in your opinion, is an alpha? What, in your opinion, is a beta? And we'll get into the other ones in a little bit. And what in your opinion is a simp?
When I gotta defer this one to you, bro. This is like the opening kickoff. I'm going to defer this one to you, man.
From what I understand, an alpha is somebody that's aggressive, a person that goes after his goals and doesn't care about anything or anyone. Somebody that is so-called a bad boy. Somebody that perhaps is narcissistic. Um, Someone who is um, just absolutely A-type. A beta, on the other hand, is somebody that is just, as somebody would term on the street, is soft. Somebody that might be caring, or um, somebody that just gets things done and just is easygoing. Um, and a simp, is just somebody that just does something for somebody without any reciprocity or any respect or care from the other person. And he, is often somebody that is run over. So I'll just leave it like that for right now and kick it back up to water.
Wow, bro. I really, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I um I don't really have much to add to that. However, let me say this. I do think that I agree with what you're saying about your definitions. Typically, when I hear the term alpha, I think of the the bad boy, if you will, and that to me is probably the in my mind the prototypical alpha male, if you will. Definitely narcissist comes to mind when you think alpha male, and then when you think beta, I mean, you start to think of that soft guy, the sweet guy, the kind person who, the nice guy. So whatever you want to say about those two types, when it comes to society or what you think about those. We've heard all the terms, things like nice guys finish last or whatnot. And then I think that, like you were saying, when the probably the super nice guy that kind of finishes last is the simp. But I would say the beta is more of the, like the when the women think that's the husband type. And then the alpha male would be the bad boy, the one that she kind of elopes to Vegas and gets the matching tattoos or whatever. So I think that, when you think about those, it's interesting that these terms are tossed around, because I'm hoping, Earth, that you have some sort of formal definition, because everyone kind of throws these. I don't know where you would get the definition from, like Urban Dictionary or something. I mean, where is it that you would get an actual definition of this, to where you can say, okay, here's what these definitively are?
Well, yeah, good question. I mean, there are lots of definitions. So you just have to go out and just dig and dig and dig and dig and dig, and just kind of put them all together to come up with what it is, because everyone has like their own kind of idea of what it is. But I think that the list that I have is a good combination of the descriptions of these archetypes that I can find. So we're gonna just get this thing popping. So we're gonna start off with alpha, and you all may sort of change your view about some things just a little bit. It's no telling. We'll see. We will see. Because it's interesting that you all name some things that actually about an alpha and a beta that, in my opinion, go in some of these other categories. But we'll see. Let's get it popping. So an alpha is generally the most popular. He has confidence. However, he is considered as being aggressive. He's outgoing, very demanding. The thing about an alpha is he's generally successful in his private and personal life. Now, this is the thing about alphas. Alphas generally have a lot of enemies. See? Some people would be like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't have no enemies. I don't think. But that's what alphas generally have, a lot of enemies, because they pissing people off left and right, being aggressive, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, alphas love their freedom. And when it comes to like women, like they don't hesitate to approach women. They see something they want, they just kind of go after it. They got a lot of game, if that's what you want to call it. And they have a very charismatic, very magnetic, very, very attractive personality. And actually an alpha is kind of quick on his feet, and he sort of marvels at the idea that he could actually respond and actually reply to things very, very quickly, very quick on his feet. Now I'm gonna pause that for just 1 second before I go further. Now, with that definition, what y'all got? Because does that fall in line with how you would classify an alpha? And based upon this, like, no, I'm gonna ask that question at the end. Like, where do you find yourself in all these categories?
Well, let me just say this. What I stated earlier is not necessarily my personal view, but it's what I have observed from what other people are, stating out in the streets. There's also, I would say that alpha is not necessarily a bad term. Typically, alpha is really, somebody that leads, somebody that takes charge, somebody that is a boss, somebody that goes after, what they want and, serves the people. You don't necessarily have to be narcissistic or have any negative connotations associated with that to be an alpha.
True. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Water, what you got?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with what Wynn said about that. I agree that But at the same time, I would say I could totally see alphas having a lot of enemies because this is that confident guy who, uh, as we alluded to, is the more of a take charge kind of guy. And I think Wind and I both kind of were in agreement on the narcissistic end. So that doesn't really rub people in the best way when people interact with narcissistic type personalities. People tend to develop a lot of resentment, and that leads to enemies over the course of time. And the aggressive, if you will, the aggressive um, behavior that again just could rub people in the wrong way depending on the situation. Um, Even in the situation of ladies, just sometimes things happen when we know we're men, and this is a manversation that we're having here. So, sometimes men just kind of, start to compete over women the same way that women compete over men, but it's just more in a more physical kind of, aggressive type of a way as opposed to some other type of behavior. So it is a spot on definition what you gave, Earth. I definitely agree with that. But like Wynn said, there's a little bit more dynamicism, when it comes to an alpha outside of just boom, boom, boom.
And let me
Yeah,
just say this.
go ahead, Win.
Um, I don't necessarily agree with you, Water. And I didn't say that all alphas are narcissistic.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them perhaps may be. Again, this is observations and things that I've heard from the streets. What the streets are saying, what the streets are talking.
A friend of a friend told you this. Yeah, I get it. I get it. And yeah, of course. I mean, we can't. I think that right now what we're doing is just having a general conversation. So we will generalize the personality type, but again, there are going to be all spectrums of shades in between alpha, and in different situations in life. Like someone may be more alpha in one type of an environment and beta in a different type of environment, such as like work and personal life. So I think that you can't really, there's not going to be a blanket all over there, and there are going to be different degrees, and some people are going to be on the unhealthy side of an alpha, and some people will be on the unhealthy side of simp, like where it's just like it just gets unhealthy when you have certain behaviors that are skewed one way. So I agree with you that not every single alpha would come off as a narcissist. I'm sure there are some very gentlemanly alpha males out there. So we want to salute all the gentlemanly alphas if you're out there who are not narcissists. Earth.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a lot of nuance there that we have to take into consideration, when we're defining all of these archetypes. So yeah, so I just want to move on because we have 1 hour. You know how that goes. We got to get all this in. So now let's look at these betas. So you all were correct. Beta is a nice guy. You know, everybody likes him. You know, he gets along with everybody. Betas are. I want you to be clear about the language I'm going to use. They are more sensitive and less aggressive. It doesn't mean that they're not aggressive at all. They're just less aggressive. They may sit back and move a little more methodical than an alpha may move. And so that's the thing that may make them a little less aggressive. They may sit back and think about things before they react. And alpha may just go out and be like, damn, let's just get it going. Let's react. Um, uh, Betas take criticism very, very well. Alphas don't really take criticism that well because they already think like they got it all worked out. Um, and betas, they demonstrate collaborative skills, so they like to work together with people, bringing people together to accomplish a goal. They're reserved in nature, and they tend to be not complete introverts, but their behavior may be sort of like an introvert just a little bit, but they're not complete introverts because betas Betas are actually they can be very social. Um, Let me see. They're very lighthearted, um, emotionally nice guys who can be very idealistic. So, betas can be idealistic, which, it depends on how you look at that. Um, Betas are actually some of the best friends that you can have, and they're actually great friends with the opposite sex. Betas will show more emotions and feelings. Um, they're very will tend to be very reliable, modest, very easygoing. Um, but betas, they're not quite sure about their appearance, like how they look. So there may be some confidence issues around their appearance, like how they look. Um, Let me see. Betas, they fear embarrassment. They really do. But betas are actually, even though they fear embarrassment, they're actually, as I stated before, they're very reliable, and betas tend to be extremely faithful. They're very faithful in friendship. Actually, all their relationships. You see, they're very committed to family. They'll be very committed to romantic relationships, platonic relationships. With the boys or whatever. They tend to be very, very faithful. And this is the thing that's interesting about betas. Believe it or not, and this may be controversial, what I'm going to say is that betas have actually built the world. If you pick up your your cell phone, who you think put the technology into that more than likely? All the comforts that you have in your home, who you think created most of that technology? Now, an alpha may have been at the head, but who came up with the idea? Who came up with the process to actually put it all together? More than likely, it was a beta. And as you all stated earlier, one of you, I think it was Win, that betas are actually, may have been Water, but nevertheless, betas are actually the most sought after in regards to relationships, in regards to committed relationships, not if you for the streets, that's a different conversation. But in regards to committed relationships, marriage, betas get married a lot more than alphas do. Women actually seek out betas when they want to settle down, when they want a commitment. So in the relationship category, betas are actually winning in that category, fortunately. All right, so um, that is that about betas. Um, what y'all got about that? What you got? What you got? What you got?
When, what are you hearing, man?
The only thing I could say is that I guess you need everybody to make the world go round. Um, you need, I guess, betas would typically be followers, people that, as you alluded to, would implement, whatever plan needs to be um, fulfilled on. Um, Other than that, I have nothing else about betas.
Water. Yeah, I know y'all got more than that to say about the betas.
Yeah. So let me just say that I agree with betas building the world. Um, I think that alphas would be more of a entrepreneur, go getter, sales, hustle. Like that kind of a like that personality type will fit in that kind of a role. However, in order to keep things running, you need stability. And it was me who said that I my interpretation of betas is that they're more sought after. Women will seek them for husband, like those are the husband material guys, and not the alpha and the simps. Those guys are not, and the gammas and the zetas or whatever else there are out there. The betas are going to be the ones who are the stable ones who actually can be consistent, which you need for longevity in anything. So I think when it comes to building things or relationships or any of that stuff. I think that, that will be a serious personality type, or what are we calling these? Are these personality types? Are these categories? Exactly, what are these?
They're actually like male archetypes.
Archetypes. Okay, so there you go. See, now we're getting to some terminologies. Okay, so the beta archetype then would work really, really well when at least in my opinion, when you're looking for consistency and longevity. That to me are two things that I could see the beta archetype fitting very, very well into.
Yeah.
No,
go ahead, Win.
What I would say is that women desire alpha men and settle for beta men.
See, here comes this guy.
But
dude, here comes this guy, with
right.
his own little, now everybody can see all of our personal issues starting to leak out into the conversation.
There's no personal issue there. I mean, it's just a fact.
You know what? But what's interesting is betas will tend to pick women who are like the opposite of their personality. They will tend to pick women who are a lot more reserved, who are quieter. Then some of the women may be introverts, as opposed to a woman who's the opposite of that in all actuality. And I found that to be interesting when I was doing my research, and that seemed to be pretty consistent around like the type of mate that you may find an alpha with. Definitely. Yeah, that's interesting. You say that the betas kind of get the leftovers. That's basically what you say in a nutshell. Betas get what the alphas don't want.
Well, what happens is that the alphas have them and discard them and push them off to the betas, and they, the alphas go elsewhere and get something else. They continue to roam.
I disagree. I disagree. I see where you're going with that. I see what you did there. And I disagree that there's some women out there who just not going to deal with an alpha just because the intrigue. I think there's certain women who are, like they want that bad guy and the mysterious guy and the guy with the 5 o'clock shadow and all that kind of stuff. They want that. But some women aren't. They're not going to go for that. I mean, it's just like what we're saying.
To my language, though, I said they desire an alpha, but they wind up settling for a beta.
You saying all? So you're saying all women? Sorry, you saying all women?
All women. I'm not saying all women.
Okay, so give me a percentage then. If you're going to make this claim, give me a percentage.
What I'm clarifying is this: all women. Well, most women, I want to say all women, love leaders. They love aggressive men, right? But they can't necessarily have them and keep them. And as a consequence, they end up settling for somebody that's more mellow, such as a beta man.
So let me ask this question. Based upon the definitions I've given so far, or the descriptions I've given so far, has that enlightened your view so far? Because we still have some more to go through. We have 3 more, actually 4 more archetypes to go through. Has that sort of enlightened your view in regards to alphas and betas? And I'm gonna let you all comment. I'm gonna tell you what I've gotten from that so far.
Well, hold on. Before I go there, look, I want to say, ladies out there, please, if you're watching this, I don't care if you're watching it live, if you're watching the replay, or you catch this on social, please comment so we can hear about that, because we're into saying that all women, and I'm saying, oh, come on, man, like not every single woman. I know there's some women out there who don't desire that. So I want to get some engagement on that, because we're just in our own echo chamber. We're 3 guys. We're in the echo chamber. We're talking. We're having a conversation, and I mean, we don't know. We're making stuff up, right? None of us are women. We definitely have women in our lives and close to women, and of course we love women. That's why we want to hear from you. Now, getting back to your question, Earth has it changed my perspective? I mean,
or enlighten
really?
you just a little bit. Go ahead.
You know, not really. It's more interesting to hear Wynn's. It's more interesting to hear what Wynn is saying. I gotta be honest. Hey, I gotta be honest. What you're saying is boring, and what Wynn is saying, I'm like, man, wait a minute. What is this guy talking about? But to answer your question, it does help me to get some distinctions in my mind and to unravel some of these predispositions that I have about those particular archetypes, because my thought process is exactly what Wynn is saying. Like, dude, women do not want to beta guy. However, I know plenty of married guys who they're not necessarily alpha types, and they have great marriages. And I know alpha guys who aren't married. And whether you want to be married or not, or you want to be settled down or not, that's a personal preference and a personal choice. But I just think that the desirability, probably when we talk about the distinction and we talk about in relation to women, my thought process is that when women are younger, they desire that alpha type, and as women age and mature, they tend to be attracted more to the beta type. That's just my opinion.
And it's subsequent to their experiences with alpha men.
So basically, he's going to stay stuck on the betas get the leftovers.
Yeah, he's saying the alphas rule the world.
Basically,
that's what he's saying. He's saying alpha males rule the world.
But you know what's interesting is that there's no correlating archetypes set for women. Have you heard of any?
I have not, but I haven't. Go ahead. Well, I have a really short comment. I have not, but I haven't really looked into it. So, as a matter of fact, I haven't even thought about it, to be honest with you. So, Earth, maybe you have something a little better.
No, I've heard women refer to themselves as alphas. I haven't heard them refer to themselves as anything outside of that. I've heard that. But my question is always, if anyone says that they're an alpha, I always ask two questions. Two.
The first one is, why do you have to even tell me that?
Well, you know what?
I should be able to tell that.
Right. But even if a guy says it or a woman says it, the first question I ask is, okay, who's following you? If you're an alpha, who's following you? Who are you leading? And most of the people, they just said nobody. And secondly, I will ask them, let's see, first, who's leading you and who listens to you when you talk? Do you have a say? Like when you open your mouth, do people just be like, oh man, what does water got to say? What's he saying? Do people do that? If people aren't doing that, if when you say jump, if people aren't like, okay, so jump, if they're not listening to what you're saying, if you just say jump and people just keep talking, then I argue that, nah, you're just not. If nobody is following you, if you're not leading anyone, nah, just not. No. So those are my two questions when people say that, because it's just and I think that it actually sort of devalues the term. And I think because so many people want to be an alpha, nobody wants to be a beta. And for me, just doing this research, I just looked at betas. I was like, okay, most of it was how I viewed betas to be, but I was like, oh, it just made more sense, because I always know, like, everybody, we can't have that many alphas in the world. We just don't. Everybody's not an alpha. I mean, that's just not what's so at all. But when you look at betas and you be like, okay, it's actually betas did build the world. Really, betas did come up with all this technology. So I'm like, man, it's actually not bad to be in a beta position. Beta doesn't mean that you just lost out. When I get these other archetypes, I'm gonna tell you something. I would prefer somebody to call me a beta as opposed to call me some of these other archetypes. That's just me. But we'll move along, and y'all let's see. Let me know what you think.
All
So
right.
and
Yeah, I'm interested to
I
hear
was
about the other. I'm
here
interested
is
to hear about the others.
here's the omega. This is one of them. You can call me anything, but don't call me an omega. Omega tends to be the person who has they may collect comic books, coins, insects. They're like video game heads. They sit in front of video games all day long. They're laid back and lazy, immature to a point, irresponsible, lacks ambition. And so before I go, well, let me get through this first. Um, there is someone who was picked on a lot in high school or college. I never knew anybody got picked on in college, but anyway, um, an omega might think that he is the smartest person in the group. They overinflate their intelligence, even though they're lazy, which is amazing. That's amazing to me. And they tend to have the attitude where, for example, if they're on a job and they get fired or they quit, they think that the job is going to go to hell in a handbasket if they aren't there. Like the system will fail if their presence isn't there. Um, they let me see. He needs and desires. Um, his needs and desires must be satisfied in relationships. Get this. This is going somewhere. He has a twisted view of love because he only wants his needs and desires to be satisfied. Doesn't like to give and love relationships. If he does give in the relationship, say if he gives something, he wants something of greater or equal value in return. And Omega is very difficult to please. Omegas often end up alone. And this is the kicker: as a husband, he is lazy and he does not lift a finger to assist his wife with household chores. Now, bam, what you got? Cat got your tongue.
Wow. Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot about that particular archetype. Um, what's funny is I know a couple of omegas, man.
Right.
I'm like, wow, like it's I had to catch my judgmental mind just thinking of people, and I was like, wow, I know a couple of guys, and I'm just like, man, that is that person to a T.
Right.
Like it's not like a couple of things you said. There were quite a few things that I was just like, wow, what in the world? How does I'm like, man, how do you know my friends? and it's interesting because this is the type of a guy who is the the unfortunate guy who is not really a contributor, is really what it sounds like. And contribution is not necessarily this person's cup of tea. They're kind of in their own world. They have a pet rock collection. They're more interested in their pet rock collection than they are in, listening to the elements talk about the different male archetypes or whatever. It's just not. They're not in that kind of a mental space. They're more so in a space of, these are let's be honest, these are the particular people that we used to call weird when we were in high school or college or whatever. These were those people.
Right.
That is my perception of this particular archetype. What'd you hear, man?
All I hear is loser. That's it.
But you know what? What's interesting? It's when people will refer to someone as a beta, they're actually referring to them as an alpha. Think about it. because a beta is a loser. A beta is if it's someone who doesn't have ambition, oh, he's a beta.
You mean the perception of what people
are
saying?
Right. But betas have a lot of ambition, so it's not. It's betas are not what people think they are.
Got it.
Betas are in their own, like everyone else is in their own category or archetype. But the omega is what I think people are referring to when today they refer to betas. That's just my opinion. Just reading.
Okay,
that.
So time out. So we are in a great space here, everyone. The elements. What we like to do is we like to go live, and this whole alpha beta topic has brought up a couple of comments. So we want to just pop these up and say, hey, thank you. So this is our first comment. This is a great comment of right here. When Earth. What do you think?
Let me see. From Kenyatta Robinson. Let me see. Someone desire alpha men with respect to being protectors with a few beta characteristics. It would be interesting to know, for Kenyatta, what would some of those beta characteristics be? Like, what would some of those be? And I know, for an alpha, women probably desire an alpha, but they may not desire everything that comes along with that alpha. They probably don't desire women hanging on him all the time, women always shooting their shot. They may not desire that one. So it'd be interesting to know what beta characteristics for herself, because I'm sure she can't speak for all women, would be desirable.
I could take a stab at that and think chivalry, opening the door, pulling the seat out, taking her out on dates, just things that alphas, or again, our perception of alpha. You're not thinking the alpha is like, hey, let's go on a date. Let me bring you some flowers. Those types of things. Maybe just being thoughtful, I think is the, that's my stab in the dark. If I were to anticipate what Kenyatta might say, what do you guys think?
Well, I think women, want their cake and eat it too. They want to just, yeah. If it were up to them, they would build a perfect man, right?
Well, here's another comment. Here's another comment, just so you know. This one's from none other than Quaylen. Not all women desire an alpha. Point blank.
Shout out to Kenyatta and Quaylen.
Yes. So thank you, ladies, for participating. And this is really what the elements bring and this is really why we started the show. I can only speak for the elements of why, or really, what we've said in the background that we really haven't said on the show, but we want to create a conversation. So this is about us creating a conversation that we want to bring everyone to participate into, not just us being talking heads. We're not out to be flashy. We're not trying to be something that we're not. We want to bring conscious masculinity to the public. This is a show. We're men. This is a show talking about men's issues, and we're in the, what's it called, Earth? The manosphere, is it?
Something like that. Yeah. That one.
We're going to be participating in the manosphere. However, women, ladies, we really would love to hear your opinions, because trust me, we don't know. As you can hear, we're up here stabbing in the dark. When to say all women want alphas, and now when we hear from the ladies, they're like, hey,
no,
I am not stabbing in the dark.
So Wynn says he knows emphatically, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that betas get alphas leftovers, period.
That's it.
And he knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that women want their cake and eat it too, period.
This guy's not going to back down from this.
That's for the most part. But what I would say is that, as you alluded to earlier, Water, you could be an alpha and still be a gentleman, right? You could still be a leader and still, have respect for others. You could, that's really what's required of a great leader.
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna, you know, we're
That's
gonna
well
get to
spoken.
that.
Well said.
And
Well
yeah,
said.
it's well said, but you know, just hang in there, hang in there, hang in there. You'll see. You will see. All right, let's see. Let's go down this list. Let me see. What else we got?
But that's interesting about the omega. I actually never heard um, uh, that term attributed to men. I didn't know that was part of the archetype.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
When I
it's a
initially
great one. It's a great one too, because we all know that guy.
oh yeah, I know that guy. Yeah.
We all know that guy.
Wait a minute. I know more than one of those guys.
Yeah, we know those guys, right? Unfortunately, right? It's unfortunate. It's
Right.
totally unfortunate.
Yeah.
And as you alluded to, that you think that the people that they're attributing betas are actually omegas. What I was going to say earlier when I talked about there not being a correlating structure for women is that this entire body of thinking is actually kind of demeaning towards men. I think it's emasculating, quite frankly, but it's interesting. So, but I'll park it right there.
Yes. Let's let wind kind of calm, let the winds calm back down. But it's a
All right.
valid point. It's definitely a valid point.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get this train moving. All right. So let's get to the next archetype. The next archetype is a gamma. Gammas don't avoid responsibilities. They're adventurous and fun loving. Alphas might mature into gammas. Uh-huh. Because gammas are refined versions of alphas. But the interesting thing, this is where like I was like, okay, if a alpha at some point matures into a gamma, what I found out next was very interesting that gammas are mostly shy, but you wouldn't attribute being shy to an alpha. So I found that very interesting to say that alphas may someday mature into gammas because gammas are more refined versions of alphas. And then I see that that gammas are actually shy. Um, they actually put forth a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources into achieving their goals. Um, but the interesting thing, this is what I found interesting about gammas. I found this very interesting because some of these things I was like, man, but if an alpha, I mean, so if a gamma, puts a lot of effort into achieving goals, then as I continue to do research, it said that even though alphas put in a lot of resources to achieve their goals, they do not want to go the extra mile to finish things. So I found that very interesting. You would think it would be contradictory, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, that actually does kind of make sense. Okay, I can make sense of that. But see, gammas, they actually strive to be popular by any means, but they always fail in that category. And alphas, I mean, not alphas, excuse me, gammas. Gammas are very sneaky in business and they want to get things done, even if he doesn't put forth a lot of effort to get it done. Gammas are very agreeable, meaning that they nod their heads in conversations. We've all seen that guy. You be talking, they're constantly like, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, that's right, yeah. They're constantly in agreement, and they don't often express like their opinion about things in the midst of being agreeable. So I found that very interesting. Gammas are hard to handle in romantic relationships because he is, get this, catch it, get it, very possessive, very clingy. You may find gammas who are generally stalkers. So they got some stalkerazzi going on about them. A gamma may lack self-esteem, feels that he can never be enough in a relationship. Wow, he's very sensitive towards the opposite sex. Always wants to fulfill his partner's needs. Mm. He has a particular amount of feminine behaviors, values, and oof, um, and expressions. Um, and his expectations are always to win his partner's hearts. However, he puts family first in any scenario or situation. To me, a gamma sounds like he's just kind of all over the place. A gamma sounds very ungrounded to me. That's just how I view a gamma. Like that. Some of those characteristics are actually I know some dudes like that. I know some like that. Some came to mind immediately, as I read this. So yeah, what do you guys think? What you got? Wind, water.
When?
I'm just taking it in. I've never heard these rankings again, other than alpha, beta, and simp. I've heard of sigma. I haven't heard of these other terms. So I'm just listening. It's interesting.
Yeah, I had never heard of this as well. This is very educational for me as well. And I do know I do know a gamma as well. I know one of those guys. It's interesting that you said it, because what triggered me is the person who's always like, oh yeah,
Right. Yeah,
but
we know
but
that guy.
they seem a little they seem a little alpha, but there's a little bit of
Right.
sneakiness, a little they almost seem like the treacherous movie character that was looking to sneak something in there, or whatnot.
Yeah.
And
Real greasy.
yes, and it's interesting to hear this, because it's almost like you can start to put people into buckets. You can just take one, like, oh, one
Right.
bucket, and then this person goes here, and another bucket, and this person goes there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm hearing, is that it's definitely and it seems like it's almost a combination of a lot of different things. Seems like a little bit of alpha, a little bit of simp, a little bit of beta, and I'm sure that person still might have a pet rock collection or something. A little ant farm, a little ant farm. They're like, oh
Right.
man, look, you guys don't just look in here. You're gonna see a whole world if you just look. Yeah, I can see
Right.
that.
And it seems like he might have like a musty pet turtle or something like that. Because
Yeah.
I had one when I was a kid. No. My cousin had one. And
Yeah.
that thing was musty. Oh man. He may have like a musty pet turtle or something. This thing's stinking.
And some of these, some of these also sound like things that we were as kids, right? As children,
Yeah.
you were, that whatever, and you kind of just matured out of it because you got interested in other things, money and success and women, and you just, like working out or whatever. You just became interested in other things, and sports and things like that, as opposed to some of those other things that may just be less what comes to mind is less attractive to women. Like if you have that musty pet turtle or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, but just to keep in touch with our engagement, we do want to stay engaged. We want to say thank you to Kenyatta and Quaylen. We did get a response back from Quaylen. Her and Kenyatta looks like they were, messaging back and forth, and so the chivalrous alpha. Listen to this, guys. The chivalrous alpha sounds like the winner and the keeper out there. So all the alphas out there who, you think that you just kind of go just 1,000% in, just turn them down a notch. Flowers are good, a little sweetness here and there. A little showing you a little soft side, and the teddy bear part of you is attractive to women as well, as what we're hearing.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
When
Good point.
Earth, you got anything on that?
No, I think she's right. I think that you don't have to be like the classic alpha in order to be an alpha, in my opinion. Whatever the stereotype is around alphas, you don't have to be that at all. And in my opinion, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more in the end. I think that with all these archetypes, I think there's a little bit, you can find a little bit of something that maybe once in your life you probably participated in that. It's maybe some things now you may be a mixture of a couple of these things. And so I don't think no, that's actually my conclusion. Anyway, I'm not gonna go down that road. I'm gonna leave that alone right now. But yeah, I agree.
All right, good. What's
Yeah,
next?
okay. Next is the
How many
Sigma.
how many more of these do we have? Like 10
Dude,
more?
we just have we just have two more. That's
Okay,
it.
good. All right,
We
great.
we have the Sigma. The Sigma has like an aura of mystery. Is a Sigma is a more evolved version of an alpha. A Sigma gets things done in their own way and never bends to arbitrary rules that are constructed by society. Tight. Um, they believe that without superficial rules, they can be more effective. Many entrepreneurs have Sigma habits because they are able to think outside the box. Sigmas think outside the box all the time. Sigmas, they're kind of modest. They don't boast. They don't brag. They have a sense of humility about themselves. You would never know that a Sigma is a billionaire. You would just think it's just this random dude driving in a Toyota Corolla or something like that, and he's like this billionaire. You just would never know. He doesn't flash his money. He doesn't wear his money. You wouldn't know. You would have to really kind of look at a Sigma to see and really kind of know, like, oh, let me see what are his hobbies, what is activities, to kind of know, like, okay, this guy is actually a little well off. Anyway, don't mistake the silence of a Sigma for weakness or shyness, because they're far from that. But they're like these dudes. They'll walk into a room and they'll just sit there and sit back and observe. They don't say much at all, and at the same time they're just running the show. Um, da, da, da. So the thing about this is the thing about the Sigma. Another thing about a Sigma that's pretty interesting. A Sigma represents himself in a way that will make an alpha tremble. That's hot. I like that. He is confident, calm, stoic. He is charismatic, has a positive attitude that attracts people. And when a Sigma is speaking, the moment the Sigma says something, people are like, whoa, what is this? What's this dude saying? What does he have to say? They're listening. They're present when a Sigma is talking. And so which is pretty cool. I like that. All right. What y'all got?
So as you were alluding to earlier, Water, and Kenyatta and Quaylen were alluding to, the Sigma is the more refined, the more evolved alpha. So it's not that the alpha has beta tendencies or beta characteristics. It's just simply a different archetype that involves a little bit of evolution and a little refinement.
I like that. Yeah, I definitely agree that the Sigma sounds like it's an evolved alpha that has grown out of the I guess the best word to use is the immature aspects of the alpha, as well as the disconnected, because the alpha kind of sounds like the disconnected person, if you will, and the sigma sounds more connected and more emotionally intelligent, I think is the word that I was looking for. To me, that's what the sigma sounds like.
A
What do you
baby
think,
wolf
Corey?
versus a grown man wolf.
You know what's interesting, and not saying that this is something that's etched in stone, but like when I was doing the research, what I saw was that you know um, sigmas sigmas have always been that, and alphas do not ordinarily devolve into or evolve into a sigma. An alpha is
Mm,
usually just what it is, and a sigma is what it is. A sigma is, if somebody is boastful, right, and they're flashy, the probability of that person toning that down is not high. That's just in their personality. In the same way, like with the sigma, most sigmas you will find they're very reserved. They're kind of quiet, but they are just fierce, fierce people. And so what I've just like doing the research, I didn't see, and I saw where it's just like sigmas will probably, and I'm going to say never, but the probability of them becoming alphas is slim to none, and the probability of an alpha becoming a sigma is slim to none.
it's an interesting
So I
take.
found that interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. And Kenyatta, thanks for the engagement, Kenyatta. She just says it's an evolved alpha, which I think is really, what we're saying is that the archetype is evolved from an alpha, as opposed to a person will evolve from a alpha to a sigma. I think that's
Right.
that's very, very likely, what we're talking about here, which it actually doesn't sound, as well as it doesn't sound unhealthy. I think an alpha
Right.
sounds a little unhealthy. It probably more than a little, when you start to get into to alphas who are kind of like, have it up a high notch, starts to get
Right.
unhealthy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thanks for the engagement, Quaylen and Kenyatta. That was good engagement from both of you.
All right. So we're on the home stretch.
All right. So we have one more, right?
Woo! Simping. Simping, simping, simping. You know what? Someone said their son told them, I was like, I don't know if I agree with this. Son told them that uh, he'd rather be simping than pimping. But I get his point. I get his point. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. It's all perspective, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm not. I don't want to be simping, but I definitely don't want to be pimping either. Not interested in that one.
So what's the
Um,
definition?
the definition is this. Woo! It's a guy who like goes above and beyond to get a woman, who will pretty much do anything, who will do handstands to get a woman. It's someone who puts himself in a submissive or inferior position to gain favor from a woman. Someone who overvalues women, or like puts women on this pedestal, and they don't even know the woman at all. They don't have no clue who this woman is. Someone who, like, a simp is somebody who's always friend zone, but they may not always know that they're in the friend zone. But they're in the friend zone, but they keep on shooting this shot. Um, a simp is someone who a woman can easily give false hope to, and he will actually think that there's a possibility for him to be in a relationship with this woman, and it's not. It is he is friend zone through perpetuity. He'll never get out of that one, ever, 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 ever. Um, he puts a lot of time and a lot of energy, or not even a lot. He just puts too much time and energy into pursuing women. I mean, that's where all of his time, that's where all of his energy goes. And he's not, you'll find a lot of times um, someone who's a simp is not very productive. They're not someone who is actually looking to build their social economic status. They may think about it, but so much of their time and their effort goes into the pursuit of women at any cost. They don't have time for anything else. Um, and so it's a person who puts the needs of women and the needs of others far above their personal needs. And lastly, I would say a simp is somebody who actually is always coming out the pocket, always coming out the pocket, always coming out the pocket. You know, always. You know, you may go, you know, nothing wrong with this. I don't know. I just have a thing with this one, but he may go out. He may go out to dinner, and there may be like a woman there. He's in the friend zone. He doesn't know he's in the friend zone. Who he likes, and he may see she and five of her friends there, and he'll come to the table and he'll sit down. He'll eat dinner with them, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I'll just get the whole bill." That's that dude, and he spent a G on dinner, and he's still in the friend zone. That's a simp. So what y'all got?
I would say that that's an interesting term, friend zone, because you don't treat people like that. You don't treat friends like that. So they're not friends, right?
Right.
They're just simply a doormat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple and plain.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I would
but he
just
has to be responsible for being a doormat. Also, that's just my opinion. There's
Oh,
responsibility.
of course. I'm just saying that the term friend zone that a lot of these women use, is not necessarily appropriate because they're not the people that they use and abuse are not friends at all. And that goes on both sides, men and women. So it's not really a friend zone. It's
Right.
really you know, let me use and abuse this person.
Right. 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 Right.
yeah, and I would just like to add that this is probably the person that most people think when they use the term alpha, they think beta, alpha, beta, and that's it, right? So if you're not 100% alpha, then you're all the other things.
Right.
So I think that a lot of times, this particular archetype gets thrown and lumped in with that beta, and it actually makes the beta sound, just the typical thought process is beta is like a less desirable archetype for you to be as a guy. And from this conversation, the distinction that I'm getting from all this is that there's the omega, there's the gamma, there's the some other ones, and the simp, right? And so these things, we hear beta and we think all of those things lumped into one, as opposed to just saying, hey, there is a beta, and this is what the beta really is, not the beta is the simp plus the
Right.
omega plus you know the gamma and plus the delta. Is there a lambda, delta, chi? We're missing. You miss it. Your research is incomplete, bro. Like, we need you to go back and get the lambda, get all of them.
all the Greek alphabet. When we get all of them.
Yes, yes,
You know.
yes.
So I'll say this. This is no. I want to hear you all's closing remarks because we need. It's that time. We need to start wrapping it up. Very good show. Very good show.
Yep.
What are your closing
Oh
remarks?
man.
I heard some of what you said, Water, and what you've taken away. What's your big takeaway from this?
Well, I just want to put up the last, comment that we had before we close it out. Quaylen's just saying that, alphas do seem unhealthy. So this is just my closing remarks are that this is a great conversation to basically get a little bit of differentiators between these different terms, so that when we kick these terms around now, we don't kick around just saying, hey, I'm an alpha, or, there's no way that I'm a beta. We now start saying, hey, like, hey, and, in my personal life, I'm a little alpha, and sometimes it gets a little unhealthy, but I still am sweet to my lady. I take her out. I definitely get her flowers. When she's having a bad day, I make sure that I let her talk to me about that. I ask her how her day is. Just little simple things that it can be, but it also helps to, for me, what I'm hearing is that if there are guys out there and they're watching this, they may be an omega. And look, bro, it's okay if you're an omega. This is the time for you to actually look within and say, okay, what's going on? Why am I actually expressing that behavior? What do I want to be? And start to get on that path to take yourself to wherever you want to be, as opposed to being that person that, your circle and, your people who like are, and like your ladies relatives thinking that you're a loser, or thinking that you're the weird dude or whatever. You can just basically take these different archetypes and start to use them as an improvement mechanism for where you want to be in life. So that's my takeaway, is that I think it's a great conversation. This is something that men are interested in, but as we can see, ladies are interested in this as well. So I'm glad that we actually were able to bring this to the manosphere and have the womanosphere, get a little bit of benefit from that. What are your closing remarks, my man?
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation. It was some things that I had never heard before, but quite frankly, as I alluded to earlier, the whole conversation and ranking men is quite, emasculating. I think the whole conversation is trash, quite frankly, separate us, and have us at each other's throats, and it's a bunch of foolishness that's going on in social media and on the streets, just really further separating us, and it's horrible.
Yeah, and I find this is a very interesting conversation, and I'm not a big fan of labels. Not a big fan of that. And I always say, like, to classify yourself in any one of those categories, as any one of those archetypes, to me is equivalent to giving yourself a nickname. That's just whack to me. You allow the world to define you, because they're going to define you anyway, and you just going about your business and be, the full expression of who you are. That's the best you can do, and allow other people to define you, because they're going to do it anyway. Because how someone defines you has absolutely nothing to do with the true nature of who you are at all. It's not even remotely close. And so I'm not a big fan of labeling people, putting people in these categories of various archetypes. If someone wants to do that, that's perfectly fine. That's just their business. You can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself, but at the end of the day, if your life and how you live your life does not reflect, whatever you label yourself as, then you're just blowing smoke. That's what you're doing at the end of the day. How productive you are in life, whatever you produce, however you treat people, how you walk through the world, is the thing that actually defines you, in my opinion. And so if I take a step back and I look at these archetypes, I could never, if I were to classify someone, for example, I would never say that this person is an alpha, because more than likely that alpha has some beta somewhere in there. And I don't think beta is, after reading through all of these archetypes, beta is actually ranked pretty high in my opinion. It's not as low as, it wouldn't be as low as some of these other rankings. But you can look and see where, someone is actually going to have some characteristics and some behaviors that actually cross into some of these other archetypes. And that's what I see. I see some people, I know some guys who are gammas. Man, he still is a gamma. However, he's lazy, but when it's something he puts his mind to, he's actually not lazy or something like that. Something he really, really wants to accomplish. He's not really lazy. He'll get up and he'll actually do it. Now, when that's done, he'll go right back to just sitting down, playing video games, collecting pet rocks or stinky pet turtles or something like that. But he'll still have some characteristics or something like that from one of these other groups. And you know, at the end of the day, we are just who we are. And I agree with Win in that, I'm not a big fan of labeling people because it does create like separation. Because no dude wants to walk around nowadays and say that he's a beta. But after going through this, everybody should have a whole nother level of respect for betas, because betas actually build the world in a nutshell. you know, the dude wouldn't have his platform to call someone else a beta if a beta hadn't built that platform. It just wouldn't happen at all. So we all play a role in society. We all have a contribution to make, and we can actually make those contributions without labeling each other as something. But as being human beings, I understand that that's going to happen. Period. But we can actually avoid from labeling ourselves as, oh, I'm an alpha or I'm a beta. I'm sure nobody's going to call themselves a gamma. They're probably not going to do that one. Or I'm a sigma or something like that. We don't have to label ourselves that. Let the world judge who we are, and they'll do that. But it should not impact at the end of the day who we know ourselves to be. So yeah, so that's all I want to say in closing. It's been a great show tonight. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing the research. That was hot. And just tune in next week. We are going to have the conversation that we actually should have had the first week. It's going to be conscious masculinity versus toxic masculinity. What is the difference? Is there a difference? Some people may look at it and be like, it's all the same. But we're going to bring that conversation to the floor next week. That's going to be a very, very good conversation because many people have no clue what conscious masculinity is. So we're going to break that down next week so that you have a very comprehensive understanding of what conscious masculinity is. And, hopefully we'll give you a comprehensive understanding of what toxic masculinity actually is. And I promise you, it is not what you think it is. It is not because someone puts their foot down and won't bend, or someone says X. It's not what it is. But anyway, we're going to get into all that next week. Once again, thank you. Many thanks to everyone who listened in tonight. Tune in next week. Make sure you click the like button. Make sure you click the subscribe button. That's all I got. Anything else?
And make sure that you tune into the live sessions. We are working to get this right now. We're streaming only live on YouTube, but hopefully next week we'll be streaming live on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and anywhere else that allows us to stream live, so that when you're there live, you can comment. Look, we want you to engage with us. Like we don't really have much to talk about. What we really want to do is we want to have a conversation with everyone so that we can actually get it going. And you can see that, the comments today, they were on fire. People are wanting, to hear about these things, and people are wanting to engage. So if you're in the live and you basically want to post a comment, we're going to bring your comment on and we're going to have a discussion with you. So that is what the elements bring to the manosphere. That's what the elements bring to the internet. And we just want to see you next week. Same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or daylight time, whatever they're trying to do with the time. But it'll always be 8 p.m. Eastern. To tune in live. But if you just catch it, you can always go watch the recording on all those different places. When you want to take us out?
Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. And at the end of the day, never be a simp.
Deuces.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
The win is the man. Peace.